The 2022 season was A'ja Wilson's coronation. MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and of course, her first championship.
She got it factor, she gets it, she understands leadership. She's a good one. I'll go to battle with her any day.
A'ja Wilson is the now of the WNBA. But which W legends laid the groundwork for various aspects of her game? What are A'ja Wilson's building blocks? This episode of Building Blocks is presented by Intuit QuickBooks. A'ja Wilson did it all for the Las Vegas Aces last summer, finishing 5th in the league in scoring, 2nd in rebounding, and 1st in block shots. The former national champion at South Carolina was the jet fuel that propelled the Aces atop the league.
Wilson facing up, got it to go!
In the process, she became the 3rd player in league history to win multiple MVPs in their first 5 seasons. But what is it precisely that makes Wilson great, and where have we seen elements of her game before? Look no further than Lisa Leslie, one of the foundational pillars of the WNBA.
Leslie straight down the lane of the cup, lays it. That's too darn easy.
Leslie, a 3-time MVP and 2-time champion with the Los Angeles Sparks, was known for being a highly skilled big who could dominate inside, run the floor, and score in a variety of ways. And she really knew how to get her team and the crowd going. Sound familiar?
Leslie running the floor. The Sparks dominating here in the second half. And this season has come up Aces!
Since Wilson was drafted by the Aces in 2018, she has distinguished herself as a post who can bang in the paint, but truly thrives when she gets her face-up game going. With great mobility and footwork at 6'4", good luck trying to stop the lefty as she's slashing to the basket. Trying to contest her high shot when she's pulling up for a mid-range J isn't much easier either. Need the stats to back it up? Only 2 players have averaged 17 points, 8 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks per game in their careers. A'ja Wilson and Lisa Leslie. All we're missing, an A'ja Wilson dunk, perhaps?
What's she gonna do? She dunked it for the first time in WNBA history!
But Wilson's also willing to do the little things, or rather the so-called little things that are actually the big things teams need to do to win championships. And so it's no surprise that elements of Wilson's game harken back to that of 5-time WNBA champion Rebekkah Brunson. Brunson, whose 5 titles are the most of any player in league history, doesn't have gaudy stats or a laundry list of individual accolades like Wilson. But she was always willing to do the dirty work and didn't need to share the spotlight with superstar teammates Maya Moore, Simone Augustus, and Lindsay Whalen. Need a big offensive rebound? Brunson was there. A key hustle play? Brunson was all about it. Wilson's momentous and-ones and thunderous blocks make highlight reels, but her sharp rotations on defense, relentlessness on the glass, willingness to set screens and fight for loose balls are equally as important. And on a star-studded team like the Aces, Wilson is more than happy to embrace those roles any given night if it's someone else's turn to pop off. Say, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, or this year, Candace Parker. Wilson never got to share the court with Leslie or Brunson, but she did play with and against 2017 WNBA MVP and 2-time champion Sylvia Fowles. Before retiring at the end of the 2022 campaign, Fowles was known as Sweet Syl for her nurturing nature off the court. But on the court, she was a ferocious presence, coming away with swat after swat on defense, while on offense operating with relative ease through double or triple teams in the lane. Wilson and Fowles have different builds, but share the ability to impose their will on the floor by regularly finishing through contact, fending off other players for rebounds down low, and expertly protecting the paint. But here's the crazy thing about A'ja Wilson. She's just 26 years old and is still getting better. She showed off new wrinkles to her game last season by moving from power forward to center, where she thrived on both ends of the floor, and by adding a 3-point shot, all the while taking her leadership to new heights. Wilson may have shades of Leslie, Brunson, and Fowles, but just you wait, because she has years ahead of her to continue to blaze her own trail. I want to welcome in Andraya Carter now to continue this conversation about A'ja Wilson and the building blocks of where she came from, but also where she's headed. So Drea, when we talk about A'ja Wilson, and where she's also headed long-term with her career, what sort of these building blocks do you feel like rings most true for maybe predicting where she can go moving forward with her career?
Oh my gosh. It's hard because like the building blocks, they're all so great, right? Like when you're talking about Lisa Leslie, Rebekkah Brunson, Sylvia Fowles, like these are women that
are complete staples in the game. So Asia will legitimately be her own staple. And my favorite part is she's all three of those players combined, but can go even beyond things that those women were able to do, which is what you want to see in the game, right? You want to see the players that we have now do even more and reach even further than the women that came before them. I love thinking about Asia in comparison to Lisa Leslie, just in terms of like the energy and the crowd pleasing and the excitement and the personality and, you know, just making an impact with who she is as a person, like staying very, very true to herself and that big personality that she has, and also having the game to back it up. Like, I just think that that is one of my favorite things about Asia, and one of my favorite things about getting to know her even more, right, as a player, but also as a woman. Like, she's so fun, she's funny, she's exciting, but she's fierce, she's competitive, she'll put her teammates in line, she checks herself as well, like watching her bounce back from a subpar performance and then dominating the next game in the finals in an extremely efficient way, right? Like, it's just so much fun to watch her journey. Comparison wise, it's hard. I think she could be all three of those women combined as she is right now, but honestly, like, even better and even do even more than them.
Yeah, when we talk about Lisa Leslie, I think her explosiveness is one thing that comes to mind, but that's something that we're going to be able to see Asia, I think, only continue to build upon, especially because she's going to have so much more space to operate with. And we saw that a little bit last year with the new look Las Vegas Aces, when, you know, they were playing more 5 out or 4 out with Asia inside. But now you bring in Candace Parker, who's only going to help them space the floor even more. And so Asia is just going to be able to do her thing, I think, now more than ever. And so we saw what she was able to do as an MVP last year, or even, I mean, we go back to 2020, she was an MVP as well. And that was with a totally different system in place offensively. So it's really exciting to see that she's only going to be able to continue to utilize her incredible skill set and that explosiveness with even more space to operate. I think that is something that a lot of fans are really eager to see this year in particular.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. For me, like, as an analyst, it's so fun. Like, that's one of the best parts about this job for me, is watching the teams change and the systems change and the personnel change, and still watching the stars and even the role players, right? Like, find ways to thrive and thrive even more than before. Like, if we think about Asia, right? What was it? A couple of years ago, there really wasn't space on the floor because of the system Lambier was playing, and Liz Cambage was on the inside. So you think about Asia having to work in that system, right? And then we lose Liz Cambage. Now we're kind of working with like Kia Stokes and Ileana Rupert, and, you know, they'll space to the 3-point line and they'll shoot threes, and they gave Asia a lot of space on the inside. But now you add Candace Parker. If Candace and Asia are the two bigs, right? Candace is not only a floor spacer who will shoot threes confidently, she is also an elite passer and playmaker. So the way that she'll be able to find Asia on the inside, the space that is created from defenses just having to respect who Candace Parker is, it's going to be so much fun to watch. I mean, you said it, right? Like, Asia's explosiveness, you were seeing it even more, right? The dynamic of defenses having to pick their poison. Do they want to double or triple team Asia? Do they want to go one-on-one against Asia? And watching her have to figure that out, because it'll probably change too. Like, not only within a series, but within a game, defenses are probably going to throw different things at her. It's going to be fun to watch. And I think too, like, you know, we're talking about those building blocks. When I think of Rebekkah Brunson, and like, one, that could end up being the best comparison for Asia, because Asia could win 5 championships. Like, if you think about Asia and her career and where it could go, and the great leader that she is, and this Aces team that she's on, you know, Rebekkah Brunson has 5. Asia Wilson could have 5 championships, but also the unselfishness of even wanting Candace Parker to be a part of the team. Candace, Alicia Clark, like, there are superstars who don't want to play with other stars. There are superstars who want to be the focus. So when we talk about the unselfishness of, like, Rebekkah Brunson, I think Asia wanting to play with Candace says a lot about who Asia is.
And absolutely, because I think that was one thing that really worked with the Aces last year, is that it could be anyone's night. And so it could be Asia Wilson's night, but then she was also more than happy for it to be Kelsey Plum's or Chelsea Gray's. And now they won. And then they decided, let's, not just run it back, but like, let's upgrade, let's elevate, let's bring in literally one of the best players of all time in Candace Parker, and then bringing in another just incredible, maybe even underrated star in Alysha Clark. And so I don't know if there's really that much historical precedent to something like that, where not only were they, this incredible like team where, Asia Wilson was the head of the snake, but she was so willing to be unselfish. But then she kind of doubles down and is like, you know what, let's get even better. And we can do even more damage by bringing a player like Candace Parker. So I'm so excited to watch that.
Oh my, so excited. And I'm just sitting here thinking about, like, obviously in recent times with the NBA, right? Like Devin Booker, Chris Paul, they welcome Kevin Durant in, but they haven't won a championship. So they're like, yes, please come join us, help us win a championship. What's going on with Asia and the aces and the superstardom that they have, welcoming in Candace, welcoming in Alysha Clark, it reminds me of when the Warriors added Kevin Durant. Like, the Warriors already won a championship and were happy to welcome in a star to everything that they had already going on, right? The culture is already there. We've seen the facility of the Las Vegas Aces, and Candace is just joining that, and Asia is like welcoming her in. And that's what it reminds me of. And I think that's what unselfish superstars do, right? When you think about the best, they want to play with the best, and also just well-cultured organizations. So I think in terms of like intangibles for Asia, it's incredible. Like, in the future, when we do building blocks and we'll use Asia, it'll be a very high bar for whoever we compare to her in the future, because leadership wise, intangible wise, skill set wise, I know we compared her to Syl as far as physicality goes, but Asia could be that versatile defender as well. Like, I could see Asia defending on the perimeter and defending like heavy ball screen actions on the ball, right? Like, anytime that the Aces, I feel like, got a defensive stop or made a strong defensive play, Asia was probably in the middle of it, right? Whether she was hedging on the screen, hard hedge, flat hedge, whatever she was doing, or whether she was rotating on help side and getting a big block, like, Asia was involved in a lot of the defensive actions that really made an impact for the Aces, why she was Defensive Player of the Year. But I could see it being even bigger, like perimeter defender, down in a stance, hands low, defensive sliding. Like, she just has the quickness and the athleticism and the mobility, and the length and the size, but also the want to, like the will. Like, when I think about defense, it's like a will kind of thing. It's like a passion thing, right? You have to, yes, be athletic and quick, and you have to be able to move. But Asia has the will and the want to, in my opinion, to like sit down in a stance. So I could see just the versatility, I think, of her defense elevating even more. And it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, when we talk about defense, I thought it said so much that, defense wasn't necessarily her calling card at the pro level, but the fact that she was able to really be that anchor for the Aces on that end of the floor, because for the most part, the rest of the team wasn't really great kind of one-on-one defensively. I know Becky Hammon really harped on that team, or her team, really being strong on the defensive end. And that's where they really needed to double down, because they knew where they were going to be able to score pretty easily. So the fact that Asia was able to really just anchor that unit, I don't want to say single-handedly, but she was definitely the, driving force behind that. And now with Candace Parker and Alysha Clark in the mix, I'm really curious to see what the Aces look like defensively this year, because those are two, really strong defenders. Candace is one Defensive Player of the Year. Alysha Clark is certainly deserving of that honor as well. So it'll be interesting to see that growth on that side of the floor. And then I think going back to offense, I'm really eager to see what Asia's perimeter shooting continues to develop as, because we saw that as an expanded part of her game last year. Becky Hammon obviously wants anyone on the floor to be able to hit that three ball, help space the floor. So I'm sure she's only continued to work on that, and we could see that develop even more as she continues on as a pro, because it's crazy, but she's only 26, and that's something that I just think it boggles the mind given where she is already and what she's already done for this game. Anything else you see as, when we talk about Asia Wilson, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, maybe when she's retired, what her legacy could be, or what kind of elements to her game she could add that we haven't even seen yet, that maybe we haven't touched on?
basketball wise, I think it go in so many different directions, right? Like just elevate and expand in every single way. But I think I could see Asia, and this isn't on the court, but like expanding even more into the business side and into who she is and showing that outside of the court as well and off the court as well. Like Asia, like I know her dad is a businessman, and she's got like candles and she does all kinds of different things. Like I think that side of Asia growing and just being like an even bigger staple in society, whether you watch basketball or not, like you're going to know who Asia Wilson is. People connect to her really easily. Like I think anyone that talks to her, like you feel kind of connected to her. She just kind of has that welcoming spirit, at least for me. Maybe I'm biased, but I just think that she's going to be able to impact some area off the floor as well, in some sort of way. There's just some players that you just see it, whatever it is, whatever her like heart or alignment purpose is in that way. I could just see her doing things above and beyond the basketball court. But I think multiple time Olympic gold medalist, you could see that, multiple championships. I think Asia too, there are not many players who have won back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year awards, who like Tamika Catchings, Cheryl Swoops, Elena Beard. I'm going to forget someone, but the list is small. I think Asia could be on that list, like back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year. I think she could have a run, particularly with the Aces, where they win multiple championships in a row, kind of like we saw with, Houston, or kind of like we saw with Minnesota, right? Like she could just be a part of a dynasty type team, multiple Olympic gold medals, back-to-back awards. Like she just has the ability, skill set, personality, drive, intangibles to kind of check all of those really big limited company boxes that just put her in an elite level.
I think it's only up from here for Asia, and it's going to be a thrill to watch her this season and beyond.
Yeah, 100. It's 100%. It's so much fun. This was awesome. I appreciate you joining me in on the conversation.
This episode of Building Blocks is presented by Intuit QuickBooks. Manage your business with confidence.